Hello everyone, my name is Izzy and welcome to Clear IT. Today we're going to talk about the hard drive, the long-term storage. Let's take a look at some of these connectors. So here we have a regular SATA hard drive. We have two connectors here. One is this is the SATA cable that we talked about, the SATA data cable. This is the cable that the data goes through, and one side would be connected here. The other side connects to the motherboard. Okay, and there's a little notch you can see down here. It only fits one way. You can't put it the wrong way. And then there's the SATA power that goes here. So this would be connected to the power supply of the computer, and this adapter goes right onto the SATA power. So we have the SATA data and the SATA power, two separate cables. This is true for desktops. This is desktop drives, 3.5-inch drives. True for laptop drives, 2.5-inch drives. This is true for CD and DVD players. They're all powered by these SATA power cables, and the data transfers through the SATA data cables. Then there's SAS drives, and I also mentioned M.2. These don't have the space in the middle. They have like a solid piece of plastic there, which means that a SAS drive won't fit into a SATA connector. SAS drives only fit into bays that were designed to fit a SAS drive. The same thing with M.2. The M.2 actually has pins on top here as well. Okay, so these are the connectors. When it comes to M.2, we also mentioned that there's two technologies. We said there's SATA and there's NVMe. Well, guess what? They have different notches here, and you got to watch out for this. Don't get the wrong one. So a SATA M.2 uses the B key, or the B notch, which is on one side, and there's a different number of pins on the right and the left. And the M key is found on NVMe drives only. Okay, so just so you know, most computers today use the M key, which means that you could fit both the NVMe or the SATA drive, but there are some out there that only have a B key. Maybe some older ones, they only have the B key, which means that you're gonna buy an NVMe SSD, it's not gonna fit. So just check that before you go and purchase your NVMe drive. Intel Optane. This is something we talked about in our video on RAM, and I'm gonna mention it again. Optane, made by Intel, was marketed at first as memory. We mentioned that it's not really memory, it's a cache, so it kind of acts as a buffer between the hard drive and the memory. So instead of loading data from the hard drive right to the memory, you transfer data to the Optane, or the Optane cached some data that it thought would be useful in the near future, and then there was quick access for the RAM. Well, that helped a lot for hard drives. It turned out it didn't help so much for SSDs. Again, SSDs, don't forget, are a minimum of 10 times faster than any hard drive. So if your computer's feeling sluggish, odds are upgrading to an SSD will help. Again, of course, you check Task Manager. Don't just upgrade things without knowing what's actually slowing you down. But the number one bottleneck on the computer is the hard drive. SSDs definitely help a ton to speed that up. But now they're coming out with these computers that are actually using Intel Optane as the SSD, as the long-term storage, which is a nice idea. It's kind of similar to an SSD. You could consider it like a faster SSD. So the performance uses the NVMe technology we just mentioned, and it has lower latency, which makes it a little bit faster. So you can consider it right now as kind of like the fastest SSDs that are available, and you're going to see some laptops, maybe some desktops too, where they're actually using Optane as their main storage. It's the boot drive. When you turn on your computer, it boots to this Optane. What causes the disk to fail? So for hard drives, we have shock, which means you have these disks, you have these platters spinning, you knock it around, it can easily get damaged. For everything we have writes. The more you write, the more it's used, the more it wears down. Now, hard drives and SSDs wear down differently. hard drives wear down, after they've been written for too long. SSDs are actually rated for a number of writes. How much can they write? After they write a certain amount of maybe terabytes or petabytes or whatever it might be, they kind of stop working. So you could consider it age, which kind of goes along with writes. So the more writes you do, or maybe the older the hard drive is, eventually it's gonna fail on you, without a doubt. All hard drives do fail, which is why it's so important to really have a backup, because it's just a matter of time until your drive fails and then you lose your stuff. Okay, so again, it could be age, just because even if there weren't a lot of writes, it could just be old age, and this thing's been around for too long, and it's getting cranky. It's not working anymore. But too many writes, especially with SSDs, are considered a problem. Now, I'm not so worried about that. I know they make enterprise SSDs that can handle even more writes, because all computers get old, all computers need to be upgraded, and the amount of writes it takes to really, to hit that max, for most people, probably takes several years, and several years something else might be dying also. So I'm not so worried about that. But again, what will cause it to fail? It could definitely be too many writes, shock for our hard drive especially, age, and heat will definitely cause damage to the hard drive as well. How do you install a hard drive? Okay, so this is a little tricky. Physically, it's very simple. So this is our hard drive. We mentioned we have our two SATA cables here, our power and our data. Again, we're looking at the 2.5 inch or 3.5 inch drive rather here, desktop drive. You buy a new drive, you disconnect the old one, you reconnect the new one, and that's about all there is to it. But it's not gonna work. So hard drives actually take the most amount, the longest period of time and the most work to get them up and running. That's because the entire operating system is on it. So the first thing you need to know if you want to upgrade your hard drive is that you need to have everything backed up. Now that's not if you're cloning. I'm going to talk about a simple way to do it in just a moment. But assuming you're actually starting from scratch, you need to make sure that all your data is backed up somewhere. Once you do that, you're going to have to go ahead and install the operating system all over again, which we're going to cover in a later video. Once your operating system is installed, you need to update it. You need to update drivers. You need to install your programs. If it didn't activate, you need to activate it, and then finally you need to restore your data. So installing a new hard drive could be quite the task. It requires some other skills as well. But assuming everything's fine with your hard drive and you just want to upgrade to an SSD, right? We're not worried about anything but speed here. Okay, so let's say you went ahead, you said, hey, my hard drive's too slow. I learned about SSDs. I'm gonna go get myself an SSD. Well, there's something you can do, and that is cloning. So there are many cloning tools out there. The one that I'm gonna mention is made by Samsung. So Samsung is one of the popular manufacturers of consumer SSDs. As a matter of fact, Samsung SSDs rank from the best time after time, and because of that, they're the most popular. So let's say you go ahead, jump onto Amazon, and you buy yourself an SSD. I'll show you what that looks like. I'll also show you the price differences. So let's jump over to Amazon. Okay, let's look for Samsung SSD. Okay, so right here we can see we have a 1 terabyte. These are 1 terabyte drives, so they're kind of expensive. We have this one here is $110. This one, which is a little bit faster, is $135. Here's an M.2. You can see here a 250 gig SSD, and it's only 60, so that's a lot better. I just want to show you these prices, how they compare to, let's say, a standard hard drive. So here we have our 250 gig hard drive. Where is it? Costing us $60. today, and our terabyte costs us 110 or 135 depending on the one that we get. Let's look at a similar Seagate 2.5-inch hard drive. You can see right at the top we have a 6 terabyte hard drive. That was kind of the same price as our 1 terabyte SSD. Here's a 1 terabyte, $48. So our 1 terabyte is cheaper than our 250 gig SSD. So hard drives are cheap. That's what's good about them, but they're also slow. So let's say you go ahead and you decide you're going ahead with an SSD. You go to Samsung. You get the Samsung SSD. Well, they make a very nice tool for cloning. Let me show you what that looks like. Jump over to their website. Samsung SSD tool. Okay. I'm going to go to data migration, and it is the first one right away, the data migration software. So the way the data migration software works is you keep your computer on with your old hard drive in. You need to connect your SSD. Again, this is Samsung. It only works with their drives. That's how they did it. And you have to connect it. Now, if you have a desktop, you may have room. You may have extra SATA cables and SATA power, and you may be able to connect a secondary hard drive. Well, if you have a laptop or even some desktops, you can't. So you're going to have to get an adapter. The one that I recommend, and I'll put links for all this stuff below. Back to Amazon a second, is a USB SATA adapter. Okay, they just cost a couple of dollars. I like these. The StarTech, they work very, very well. They use USB 3.1, which is nice and fast. And this side goes into the USB port on your computer. This side has both the SATA data and the SATA power. Here, I'll show you what this looks like a little closer. Okay, so here we have our SATA. They connect to the hard drive. Now, this only has enough power to power up a 2.5-inch hard drive or an SSD. By the way, you cannot use this to power up a 3.5-inch hard drive. Either way, you plug this in, you put your new SSD into the SATA connector, and you run the tool. It's a simple installation. It will automatically detect the Samsung drive. It will ask you, do you want to clone it? Whatever, you hit start, and it makes an identical copy of all the contents of your hard drive onto the SSD. You don't use your computer while this is happening. When it's done, you shut down your computer, you take out the old hard drive, you plug in the new SSD, turns on, and you are good to go. Cloned exactly everything the way it was. If you had an icon smack in the middle of your desktop, it'll still be smack in the middle of your desktop. So that's nice. Now, if you have a desktop, I just want to mention, if you're replacing a 3.5-inch hard drive with an SSD, you're gonna need an adapter. And again, there are many. I'll show you the ones that I like. I don't like these too much, too many screws. I happen to like these, the IC dock. These are the ones that I use. This is a 2-pack, so it's about $7-8 a piece. Again, they're all fine. You could use whichever one you like. I happen to be a fan of these. They just click right in. They could actually even fit 2, and the plastic mold is in the the exact size of the 3.5-inch hard drive, and it works fine. Okay, now again, if you want to use an M.2, you got to make sure you have an M.2 slot on your motherboard, otherwise that's not going to work. When it comes to installing M.2, just to have a close-up look, this is kind of how it looks. So you have this little thing here. Again, there's a notch. Either it's going to have the B key or the M key. Okay, you stick it in first, then you press it down, and a little screw goes right in here to hold it in place, and that's how the M.2 SSD is installed. Okay, so this is a nice overview of hard drives, SSDs, the different features that they have, the process that goes into upgrading them. Again, a little bit more involved than some of the other parts. I hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share this video. And of course, don't forget to comment. Ask questions, share your experiences, and I'll see you in the next video.